We are now going to study animals, and we're going to break the introduction to animals into two parts. First, we're going to come up with a definition that describes all animals, and then we're going to talk about the basic features of animals, divisions of labor, body tissues, body cavities, anatomical terms, cephalization, and patterns of symmetry. Things that unite all animals. All animals are made out of many cells. They're multicellular. All are eukaryotes. Remember, prokaryotes are only bacteria and archaea. Eukaryote means it has a nucleus in its cells and it has membrane-bound organelles. All animals are heterotrophs, meaning none of them can make their own food by photosynthesis. They all have to eat something else. And if you zoom in at their cells, there are no cell walls. Because animals are made out of many cells, those cells need to divide up jobs in order to be efficient. And cells become specialized. They get adapted to do a certain thing. You have nervous system cells that send electrical signals. You have bone cells that help create your skeleton. You have blood cells that transport oxygen. They don't have jobs that really overlap too much. They're specialized. In this case, all the systems work together to keep you alive efficiently. All animals develop from what are called germ layers. Now, germ is funny if you're not familiar with it because it sounds like something that makes you sick. But this is referring to germinating, as in growing. So all animal embryos develop from 3 layers. Now, some animals you'll see as an exception aren't from 3 layers, but in general, the majority of animals develop everything in their body from 3 different tissues. And those tissues become different, they differentiate, they become specialized to form blood cells, bone cells, organs, etc. Teeth, toenails, all come from these germ layers. The 3 layers are the endoderm, the mesoderm, and the ectoderm. I'm going to just kind of go through these because it's a general bio class. I'm not going to make you memorize them, but I do want you to just hear about them. The endoderm is the layer that becomes the insides of the organism. So in you, think the endoderm, when you were an embryo, developed into your pharynx or your throat, your respiratory tract, your digestive tract, etc. Your ectoderm is your outer layer. So as you were an embryo, that ectoderm became your skin, your nervous system, your sense organs like your eyes and ears. The mesoderm is everything that's in between, so muscles, body linings, etc. Animals also have body cavities. So in general, a body cavity is defined as a fluid-filled space between the digestive tract and the outer wall, and it's called a coelom. That's how you pronounce that word, coelom. Flatworms, which we'll get to later, are the only animal that does not have a body cavity. As we talk about body cavities, we're going to have 3 words come up. A coelomate has a body cavity, a pseudocoelomate has a fake body cavity, and an acoelomate does not have one at all. You don't need to write down these words yet, but I just want you to hear them because they're going to come up again. In terms of human body cavities, your cranial cavity is where your brain is located. Your thoracic is where your heart and lungs are at. And there's other cavities as well. If you take anatomy with me, you'll learn what all of them are. A worm here is very simple and it has fewer body cavities, but you could look at the body cavities in there as well. And another general characteristic of all animals is that they need to survive. And in order to survive, they all need to feed, breathe or respire, get nutrients and wastes transported around their body like we have blood vessels. That's called internal transport. Not every animal has blood vessels and a heart like we do, so we just lump it together as internal transport. Excretion is getting rid of wastes. Response is the ability to respond to things, so having a brain or something like it, a nervous system, movement, and reproduction. The last part of this video today is describing animals. And when we do dissections, we're going to use these words a lot, and so you really need to know what they mean. First, if something is a quadruped, it has 4 legs. A biped would be on 2. The anterior end is towards the head or the front end. So you have this little picture of the pig. You need to start an arrow right here by its tail, And please draw an arrow going left towards its head and right anterior, or put the letter A by it. So from the butt to the head. If you just put an arrow at the anterior, like right here at the head, that's not good enough. We're talking about a direction, so towards the head end. The opposite is posterior, so you could draw your arrow underneath that one or at the bottom here, going from the head towards the butt. Posterior is towards the back end. Label that with a P or write the word posterior. The dorsal side of an animal is its back side. So in terms of directions, dorsal means up. Please start your arrow down by the pig's feet and draw an arrow up and label that dorsal. Ventral would be the belly side, so start your arrow at the pig's head and draw an arrow down towards its feet and label that ventral. These terms, like I said, are important because if we're doing a dissection and you have to make a cut on the ventral side and you make a cut on its back, you just made a mistake. Some ways to remember it. Come up with something silly. I don't know, dorsal. I think a dorsal fin. A shark's dorsal fin is on its back. If something is the post, it's at the end. The post game. So post would be its end, its butt. Think about something like that. Anterior starts with A, the beginning of the alphabet. It's the head of the pig or whatever animal. You need to really know these terms, so come up with a way to remember them. Cephalization means that something, or an animal, has a concentration of sensory structures or brain-like structures or a brain at its anterior end. So we have a brain at our anterior end. Some things like a simple jellyfish don't have a brain, but they have a nerve net. So you should know cephalization means a brain or brain-like structures in the head end of the animal. Lastly, symmetry. If an organism is asymmetrical, it has no symmetry. You can cut it down the middle any way, and it will not be the same on the left and right side of that cut. Radial means it's symmetrical in a circle or around an axis. So starfish, hydra is this top picture. You can cut it any of these directions around the center, and it will be the same on the left and the right. These animals, like it says here, do not have a front, a back, or a right, or a left. All you have is a top and a bottom. Bilateral symmetry is what we have. If you were to divide us down the middle, we would essentially be the same on the left and the right. Same thing with the lobster down here. Organisms with bilateral symmetry tend to have really good cephalization, tend to have a brain up in the anterior end. Two little questions here. The position of the arrow next to organism A can be referred to as posterior, anterior, dorsal, or ventral. What would your answer be? Well, this is the head end of the organism. Therefore, it's the anterior end, B. Organism B is radially symmetrical, bilaterally symmetrical, unilaterally symmetrical, or asymmetrical. Well, we know it's not C because that's not even something that we talked about. Asymmetrical, if you cut it, it's going to be the same looking at it top down, so from left to right, so it's not asymmetrical. That leaves us with two. Bilateral is like a human or the fish here. You can only cut it one way and it will be the same left and right. This guy is radial because you could cut it a number of ways around an axis and it would be symmetrical on either side. So A is your answer. Now that you've seen this video, you should be able to define animal, explain basic features, and anatomical terms. Next, you need to take a quiz, and then you're going to be drawing a quadruped and labeling the different parts of it, just like we saw with the pig in this video.